A hot girl with an IQ of 160 can't find a proper job, so she can only work part-time as a cleaner in the police station. Unexpectedly, she accidentally knocked over the detective's file box and successfully helped the police solve a major case. Originally, Jin Mei just wanted to quickly pick up the scattered documents, but at this moment, she accidentally discovered that the detective's investigative thinking was seriously deviated, and he actually regarded a temporarily disappeared victim as a suspect. For this reason, she went up and erased the suspect on the analysis board without authorization, and directly changed it to the word victim. What Jin Mei didn't expect was that her action almost sent her to prison. The next morning, the detective saw that her analysis board had been touched when he just got to work. Hey, who did this? Everyone looked at each other in bewilderment. Someone actually dared to mess up the Los Angeles Police Department. At the same time, Jin Mei had just come out of the supermarket with her 3 children. She took the supermarket cart with her before leaving. Unexpectedly, as soon as she returned, there was a hurried knock on the door. The 2 detectives saw her dancing and cleaning at the same time. Jin Mei felt a little embarrassed. She claimed that she just liked to listen to music. The female police chief told Jin Mei that tampering with a criminal case without authorization is a felony and hoped that she would explain. Why did you do that last night? Jin Mei said that she just had obsessive-compulsive disorder. She wanted to correct the mistakes immediately when she saw them, otherwise she would not be able to sleep all night. The female police chief was so shocked that the cleaning lady dared to challenge the authority of the police station. She threw the file book over to her and wanted to see how Jin Mei would explain. Jin Mei spread out the photos of the case. Yesterday afternoon, a man was killed at home and his wife Da Mei was missing. The police identified Da Mei as a suspect. First of all, she absolutely did not recognize that Da Mei was a suspect because the whole room looked very tidy. Even the pillows on the sofa were evenly spaced by color, and the items on the shelves were arranged according to size and texture. Female. The owner of the house, Daimei, must have a serious misophobia. However, there was only one curtain on the huge floor-to-ceiling window that was not tied up by the drawstring, but where did the drawstring on the curtain go? There were obvious marks of tape on the legs of the chair, which should be someone was tied up by the curtain rope, with both hands and feet tied to the chair legs with tape. Since there were no marks of being tied on the hands of the deceased, it can be proved that the person who was tied was not the deceased, which means that there should be a third person at the scene, so it is very likely that Daimei was tied to the chair at the time, and the victim was just lying on the ground next to her. As for where the missing Daimei is now, we can only find the real murderer first. That's the person you need to find. But all this is just Jin Mei's own speculation, and there is no substantial evidence. Jin Mei cannot leave the police station for the time being. Just as the 2 sides were arguing, the female assistant ran in, and they found a third party in the surveillance. An Asian girl entered the house at the time of the incident. According to the investigation, the girl had sued her boss Damon for workplace sexual harassment, and the missing Daimei happened to be Damon's defense lawyer. Because the girl lost the lawsuit against her boss, she had sent emails to threaten Daimei many times. Obviously, this case has a lot to do with the girl. Soon the girl was taken to the police station for investigation, but the girl said innocently that she did threaten Daimei. He even went to her house to cause trouble, but he didn't kill her to silence her. Before the incident, he had been working at home and had never been to Daimei's house. The surveillance footage was clearly from before. How could it be 30 minutes before the incident? Jin Mei, who was behind him, just took a look at the surveillance video and found that the police had made another common-sense mistake. This doesn't concern you anymore? Wait, what are you talking about? Fortunately, the female sheriff called Jin Mei in time. According to the big trees in the video, it can be judged that the wind direction at that time was from south to north, because the wind in the Los Angeles basin only blows from the south in summer, and the wind direction will be from north to south after autumn. This proves that this video was shot a few months ago. But how did Jin Mei determine the wind direction? Because there is a Gothic church behind the girl in the video. In the 8th century, priests began to face the church to the east, because this would allow sunlight to shine through the church to show God's mercy. It was very windy yesterday, and Jin Mei was very impressed, which means that this video was tampered with by someone because the wind direction was wrong. After the conversation, Jin Mei turned around and left the police station. The female police chief was very curious and chased after her, asking Jin Mei how she did it all. Jin Mei calmly told her that her IQ was as high as 160, and she liked to watch documentaries, so this was just a very simple reasoning for her. But why didn't she even have a decent job? It was because she only had a high IQ, but her EQ was almost 0, and she often couldn't handle interpersonal relationships well, which led to her being unable to adapt to hundreds of jobs and could only be a cleaning lady in the police station. As soon as Jin Mei went out, she met the daughter of the victim. As a mother, she sympathized with the girl's experience very much, and the girl also showed Jin Mei her mother Da Mei sadly. Photo. Little did she know that this photo would become the key to Jin Mei's case. While the 2 were talking, the female sheriff came over again. She sincerely hoped that Jin Mei could stay and help find the girl's mother. A woman is missing, please. Later, Jin Mei learned the whole picture of the case under the introduction of the inspector. Yesterday afternoon, the male homeowner was killed at home, and his wife Daimei disappeared. The last time Daimei was seen was at her law firm. Their daughter thought that there was a potential suspect. That person had written a letter to her mother, and her mother became very abnormal after reading the letter, and then this case happened. But they didn't know what the specific content of the letter was, because the letter was still in Daimei's office safe. Another important information was that Daimei's last call was with her sister. Jin Mei decided to go to Da Mei's sister's house to investigate first. As soon as she entered the house, she carefully observed the whole room. The sister looked very sad, but Jin Mei keenly discovered that the sister was still revising her academic paper on the computer. Her brother-in-law had just passed away, and her sister was missing. How could the sister have the heart to do such a brain-consuming job? All the items on the shelf were covered with dust, except for a Fontana ornament that was particularly clean and looked like it had just been put there. Not long after, Jin Mei pretended to be a cleaner and sneaked into Da Mei's office. Through the wedding anniversary on the calendar, combined with the Pythagorean theorem, she successfully opened Da Mei's safe and found the letter from it. It turned out that the letter was written by someone. He is Damei's assistant lawyer. The Asian girl's boss Damon also molested her. The assistant hopes that Damei can help sue Damon. Perhaps Damei's conscience is awakened and she wants to help the assistant expose Damon, but Damon kills Damei. However, the contents of the letter are all illegally obtained by Jin Mei. The inspector was so scared that he dared not even look at it, but in the end they decided to summon Damon first. However, the investigation revealed that Damon was on vacation in a small town called Fontana on the day of the incident. When Jin Mei heard this, she immediately thought that Damon was lying. First, look at the Italian handmade leather shoes Damon wears. A pair of riding shoes cost thousands of dollars. And then look at the expensive watch on his hand, a wealthy businessman with a fortune. How could he possibly travel to a small place like Fontana? Because Fontana has not only a water park, but also the kind of bars that only girls like to go to. It's like asking a person who is used to eating Ruggiamo to eat a hamburger. How could he possibly eat Damon going to Fontana? He must be trying to hide something. But before Jin Mei could ask, Damon's lawyer broke in and took away his boss directly. The police had no way to deal with it, after all, it was just an ordinary summons. On the first day of helping the police with the case, Jin Mei encountered various difficulties one after another. The inspector was very disappointed with Jin Mei's performance and warned her not to do it again and not to obtain evidence through illegal means. He would turn a blind eye this time. After returning home, Jin Mei was also. She was very depressed. The eldest daughter always complained about Jin Mei, saying that she did not inherit her mother's intelligence, while her two younger brothers seemed very smart. Because the eldest daughter was the child of Jin Mei and her first husband, when she was only 1 year old, her husband suddenly disappeared one day. The daughter always believed that her father did not love them anymore, so he abandoned them. Jin Mei comforted her eldest daughter and said that generally daughters inherit their father's genes and have more genes. For example, her father is a painter, and now her daughter has a good talent for painting. The next morning, the inspector came to the door in person again, intending to ask Jin Mei to help for another day. Jin Mei was not polite and directly reported her youngest son to the inspector, and then began to analyze. Because there is an ornament from the town of Fontana in Damei's sister's home, and it looks very new, Damei's sister must have been to Fontana recently. Damon said that she also went there. What if the two of them went together? In addition, the expensive jewelry worn by Damei's sister made Jin Mei have a bold guess, that is, the two of them must have had an affair. Soon, the inspector and Jin Mei came to the crime scene again. Jin Mei began to reconstruct the course of the crime. At that time, Damon knew that Damei was going to expose him, so he took his sister to plead for mercy. Unexpectedly, Damei's husband was also at home. During the quarrel, the husband picked up a shotgun, but it was snatched away by Damon, who shot and killed Damei's husband directly. But because she was her biological sister, the younger sister and Damon decided to tie her up first, and then they didn't know where to hide her. Jin Mei had seen the flower pot in the room on Damei's daughter's mobile phone. The daughter said that her mother took a picture of it for her 3 days ago, and it takes at least 4 days for this kind of flower to wither. At this time, Jin Mei asked the inspector to look at the ceiling. The whole room was designed as a greenhouse. It should be that Damon controlled the temperature control system of the room at that time and adjusted the temperature to the lowest. After freezing the body, he tampered with the date of the surveillance video and planned to frame the Asian girl. The next day, he remotely raised the temperature again to heat the whole house in order to confuse the coroner's judgment on the time of death. As for what to do with Damei, Jin Mei saw the clue on the wall at a glance. The younger sister would definitely hide her sister in a safe place, and that place was their old home in Fontana. Soon, the police from both places arrived at the house in the photo at the same time, where they found Damei tied up. With the case solved, Jin Mei finally breathed a sigh of relief. The female sheriff decided to hire Jin Mei as a full-time consultant, but Jin Mei refused the job at the time on the grounds of taking care of the children. Seeing the mother and daughter hugging each other, tears welled up in Jin Mei's eyes. However, her daughter's words once again made Jin Mei decide to accept the job. The daughter always believed that her father had abandoned them, otherwise how could he disappear mysteriously? He's been gone for 50 years. Moment lying to me about it is going to help, honey. I'm not lying to you, I'm telling you that he would not have done not to us, then stop lying to yourself. Then Jin Mei came to the sheriff's office and wanted her to be a full-time counselor, so she would first help her find her husband who had been missing for 15 years. The cleaning lady with an IQ of 160 suddenly became a full-time consultant for the police. Unexpectedly, she encountered a difficult case on her first day at work. Just last night, a young man fell from the roof and hit his fancy modified car. Fortunately, Xiao Hei was still alive and was sent to the hospital for rescue in time. Afterwards, Jin Mei and the inspector came to the roof together. Jin Mei found the selfie stick lying on the ground at a glance. Following the selfie stick, she picked up a mobile phone in the gap on the ground. From the traces of the phone's use, it can be seen that the owner must be left-handed. The pattern on the back proves that the owner is also a baseball fan. When the phone is opened, a picture of the sky comes into view. The bishop's mural is likely to be a Catholic. As a woman who loves cars like her life, Jin Mei believes that the victim is like her and would not smash her car even if she died, so this must be a case of attempted murder. At that time, Xiao Hei should have been dancing on the rooftop and was suddenly attacked inexplicably, thus smashing his modified car into pieces. According to the call from the hospital, Xiao Hei's mobile phone was still on him, so this phone was most likely dropped by the murderer accidentally. Strangely, there was a heart-shaped pattern left at the scene. If I'm not mistaken, this should be the mark left on someone's butt after falling. Soon, the two came to the hospital and met Xiao Hei's mother here. The mother thought her son was very honest and popular, and no one would want to frame her child. Now her son is being rescued, and his life should not be in danger. At this time, a group of young people came to the hospital. They were all Xiao Hei's auto repair shop co-workers. Jin Mei found clues from several of them at a glance. 2 of them were left-handed and one was wearing a Catholic necklace. From the baseball tattoo on his arm, it can be determined that he is the owner of the phone. Afterwards, Xiao Bai was taken to the police station for questioning. At first he denied that he was with Xiao Hei yesterday, but the next second Jin Mei was sure that he was lying. Seeing that he could no longer hide the truth, Xiao Bai had no choice but to confess everything. He told the police that he and Xiao Hei met at the auto repair shop, and that it was Xiao Hei who changed his life. He had only recently learned to dance with Xiao Hei. Last night, the two were rehearsing a program on the rooftop, but unexpectedly a dark shadow suddenly jumped out of the darkness, pushed Xiao Hei off the roof, and he also fell to the ground. When he got up, the man in black had disappeared. Fearing that he would be implicated, he also fled the scene in a hurry. But the police could not believe a word of what he said, because the surveillance clearly captured that after the two drove to the alley, no one entered or left there. Unless there is a third party who can teleport, even the surveillance camera cannot capture their shadow. But Jin Mei thought of Xiao Hei's car again. Could it be that someone hid in the trunk in advance? Soon they came to the parking lot. From the paint left in the trunk of the car, it can be concluded that someone was definitely hiding in it at that time, and this kind of paint is very rare. Only professional workers in the auto repair shop can mix it. Jin Mei also tested it herself. She could easily open the trunk by lying in it. Then the two of them hurried to the auto repair shop. When everyone heard that the police suspected that the murderer was inside the auto repair shop, they all protested fiercely. Fortunately, Jin Mei had a way. She sent the inspector away and took the initiative to go over and talk. A few young men said that since everyone cared about Xiao Hei so much, they should agree to cooperate with the detective's investigation. They would return Xiao Hei's car soon, and when Xiao Hei was discharged from the hospital, he could drive his favorite car directly. This was also a surprise for Xiao Hei, so everyone agreed and decided to explain where they were when the crime happened yesterday. However, after reading everyone's transcripts, the police could not believe any of them because everyone could provide an alibi. The case was at a stalemate, but when she went home for dinner that night, Jin Mei accidentally saw her daughter's artwork. She quickly ran to the utility room and found a bunch of paintings left by her first husband. She told her daughter that these were all left by her father. The reason why the daughter is so talented in painting is that she inherited her father's excellent genes. Of course, Jin Mei did not just tell her daughter about this matter. She found inspiration for the case when she was looking at these paintings. Then she hurriedly called the inspector and came to the crime scene again. The only place on the rooftop where they could hide was the air conditioner. When the two were dancing that night, the moon was the brightest. The murderer hiding behind the air conditioner could not see their appearance at all. In addition, Xiao Hei's mother said that no one wanted to hurt their son, so she thought that the murderer actually wanted to push Xiao Bai down, but he accidentally hurt Xiao Hei because he could not see clearly. So Xiao Bai is still in danger, and the two immediately took action and planned. But they went to rescue Xiao Bai who was in danger, but they were still a step too late. When they found Xiao Bai in the nightclub, Xiao Bai had already received a box lunch. According to the surveillance footage, the murderer was wrapped very tightly, and the two seemed to be acquaintances. The case was disconnected again. Suo Jinmei's brain kept going through every detail of the case. Suddenly, she thought of an important clue, because the suspect in the robbery next door was also wearing a similar sweatshirt. The most important thing is that when the suspect in the robbery case fired, sparks also came out of the muzzle. Both the color and the trajectory were very similar to the gun used by the murderer who killed Xiao Bai. Based on his many years of experience in love, he is very familiar with all types of guns. Very familiar. For this reason, he thought that the two suspects might be the same person. Soon, the investigation boards of the two cases were put together. According to known investigations, a total of 5 robberies have occurred in recent months. What is strange is that when the first 3 cases occurred, passers-by saw the suspect leaving in a car, and the car he took was different each time. But when the 4th and 5th cases occurred, the suspect chose bus number 11 to escape, and it seemed that no one was driving to pick him up. I think the robber lost his getaway car. More importantly, I think he lost his driver. So where did the driver who was supposed to pick him up go? Jin Mei felt that the missing getaway driver was definitely someone who had access to many cars, and the dead Xiao Bai was most likely the driver who was responsible for picking him up, because he worked in a car repair shop and had to repair all kinds of cars every day. Xiao Bai said at the time that since he learned dance with Xiao Hei, his life had been on the right track. Perhaps from then on he no longer helped the robbers commit crimes, but the robbers were afraid that he would betray them, so they wanted to kill them to silence them. Unexpectedly, they killed the wrong person the first time they tried, and after mistakenly pushing Xiao Hei off the rooftop, they found an opportunity to shoot Xiao Bai in the bar. But who is this person? He must still be inside the auto repair shop. Jin Mei had already thought of a plan to catch him. First, he asked the police to issue an emergency case response, transferred most of the police officers from their posts, and then began to wait and see. Sure enough, the robbers got the false information and started the action that day. Unexpectedly, as soon as he entered a jewelry store, countless plainclothes officers with guns appeared around him and put the gun on the ground slowly. When the inspector took off the man's hood, he found that the man was the bald man from the auto repair shop. In fact, Jin Mei had already discovered the clues. When investigating at the auto repair shop, the bald man was the only one who was very emotional because he pushed Xiao Hei off the roof by mistake and felt very guilty. After all, Xiao Hei and he had always had a good relationship. She was indeed a woman with an IQ of 160. She helped the police solve another major case after only a few days of work. In order to commend Jin Mei's contribution, the police station gave her a bonus that night, which made Jin Mei very happy. What made them even happier was that Xiao Hei finally regained his consciousness after a few days of treatment, and he would be discharged from the hospital soon. That night, Jin Mei, she used the bonus to repair her beloved old car. This is the happiest thing for the children in recent months. They no longer have to squeeze into the bus to go to school. But just when Jin Mei was about to take a break, an uninvited guest came to the door. It was the female police chief. She told Jin Mei some bad news. According to the investigation, the police found her husband's car 3 days after he disappeared. The car was abandoned not far from Jin Mei's home, and there was a box of diapers bought for her daughter in the car. This means that the husband did not abandon his wife and daughter, but had an accident on the way home. If we really wanted to abandon in your family, why would he stop by diapers first?